My name is Jan Eliason. I'm the Director of Harm Reduction Services for Fargo Cast Public Health in the City of Fargo.
And I'm Chandler Esslinger. I'm the Community Liaison for Fargo Cast Public Health in the Harm Reduction Division based out of the Downtown Engagement Center. So today we're here to talk about our new expanded outreach team. Jan, can you share with us a little bit about how we got to this place and what they're intended to do?
It's a direct result of the city's renewed efforts to address chronic homelessness and unsheltered homelessness, especially in the downtown area. We recognize that there are challenges downtown, and we believe that everybody needs some support to address those challenges, and this is the best way that we can do that. We have other outreach teams that are all over the metro area, and this team is going to be right downtown, so when they're needed, they're able to respond as quickly as possible. And by respond, I mean if businesses have a concern, if an employee at one of those businesses has a concern, or if we just come across somebody that looks like they could really use our support or might benefit just from connecting with us, that's what we're going to do.
So this team is going to be on foot, mostly walking around downtown and really in service of people who might be experiencing a crisis, but also people who might be interacting with someone who's experiencing a crisis.
Correct. And we know that we've tried to address issues when they've come up, when businesses have called us or an employee downtown that sees something that's particularly concerning, whether that be somebody sleeping outside or some other situation. We're able to more predictably respond by having a team that's just focused downtown. And it can be any situation. It can just be concerned about a particular situation and they want to be able to run it by somebody or have somebody check on it, or it could be something bigger.
Kind
Regardless,
of triage the situation.
Yes, definitely triage.
And this is similar to things that we already do with our mobile outreach team. But one of the things that happens with the current mobile outreach program is sometimes they might be transporting an individual to hospital or wherever they need to go, and there isn't always that downtown presence. And so this is really an expansion of that evidence-based best practice outreach model that we already use in just a concentrated area.
Correct. And I think we're seeing that across the country in more and more cities, that it makes more sense to just really focus your efforts in the area where that they're most needed, right? So our mobile outreach team does cover an awful lot of area, and they're also really responding to situations that are specifically related to substance use and that sort of crisis. And with the neighborhood response team, can be anything. Can be any kind of a situation or a concern, and we just want to be there to help and provide the supports that people have been asking for a really long time. And now, as some of those challenges have increased, and the city recently had their campaign to kick off ending chronic homelessness, this is a direct result of that.
I think the community can take a lot of comfort in knowing that people who understand what causes these kinds of crises and how to respond are the people who are going to be interacting with our community members. I think that's just incredible.
Yes. So it will be a lot of times when we get calls about something that's happening or a concern, we know the people already, and that relationship really influences the situation a great deal. It feels a little bit less threatening, I guess, when somebody who you know and is pretty predictable and isn't going to be, there are no surprises when they show up, the people are less likely to react they're less likely to react more. Plus, we know that it doesn't make sense to send in a more expensive response when it's not needed. So we're there to try to avert that more expensive response and also try to produce or try to come up with a relationship or follow-up or anything that can help the person get beyond that situation based on what they're saying that they need. Sometimes we talk with people downtown that we've never even met before, and by being proactive and connecting with them as soon as possible, I think that we can start building that trustful relationship and hopefully help them get to whatever situation they're wanting to get to.
Yeah, so right response at the right time that hopefully leads to a better outcome for everybody involved.
Right.
I think one of the things that is worth mentioning, you mentioned our Ending Chronic Homelessness campaign that the city really launched back in February. And one of my takeaways from that event was just how crucial having that consistent, predictable outreach is to ensure that people who we may not have been connected with already are being offered services, are having that opportunity to build relationship with our team. And I think that is a really crucial part, but I love that this team is not just responding to folks who may be experiencing homelessness, it's for everyone.
It is for everyone, and we want to serve the entire community. That's business owners, their employees, people that may or may not need our services. We just want to check in with everyone and make sure that anybody that needs support gets that support.
So one of the things that we know is really important about outreach, especially to people who might be experiencing homelessness, is that it can take a bit of time to build up that relationship so that when we're moving somebody from the streets to housing, they're ready to take that jump because they trust the people that they're working with. Can you talk a little bit about how the neighborhood response team is really an effort to help bring more people out of that crisis situation and into housing?
Definitely. So all of our outreach teams, including this new one, are very housing focused. You know, there was a time when people had to almost enter an agency or enter a shelter or anything to get access to some of the supports, and our community's past that now, and all outreach efforts in the community are very housing focused. You know, sometimes people are really receptive to the things we have to offer or the conversation right away. Other times we have to show up over and over and over. And we really do see it as our job to prove that we are who we say we are and that we're really interested in just helping and hanging in there as long as it takes to do so.
That's one thing I really love about our harm reduction division is that one of our values is really about meeting people where they're at and helping people get access to a different choice. When you're living in a crisis situation, you might not always even feel like you have access to a different choice. And so that neighborhood response team, I feel like, is really the first step in giving somebody the opportunity to maybe see beyond the situation they're in.
Oh, definitely. It's, and you know, sometimes people don't even know what's available, or maybe they've just, because of whatever's happened, have decided that they don't have any opportunities, they don't have a way out. And we really want to create hope where sometimes hope is really absent. And I think to do that, we have to do what we say we do, we have to be who we say we are, and we have to just keep showing up over and over. So I think that's a great point.
What do you think success looks like for the neighborhood response team? If, 6 months, 12 months, 18 months from now, we've been able to successfully adapt to whatever we learn, what does success look like?
That's a great question. I think that fewer calls for law enforcement intervention. I think that less people or less presence on the streets of people in crisis, because we've figured out a different way to respond and provide support. Hopefully that's housing, obviously, but it may be other things. That connection will hopefully lead to something other than just being on the streets and being in crisis. So I think that that'll be a big part of it, is just how it feels for people downtown. I think that we've seen an increase in some of the challenges in the last couple of years. So I think we can certainly see a decrease as it happens.
I think it's really important too that this is something that we have taken on in response to the needs of the community,
Yes.
Both of people who may be unsheltered or experiencing homelessness, and the needs of the business owners and our downtown community members. And that's really an investment in our community's well-being. It's an investment in our future towards ending chronic homelessness. And I'm just really impressed that our community continues to step up when the needs change, and we figure out the best way to do that.
We do always step up, and that's what it takes. We maintain this really broad and amazing network of partners. We're able to contact the people that we think that are the most logical or practical partner to step in and help us help another individual. For example, if the person is young, let's say in their early 20s, we're going to reach out to people who provide services specifically for younger adults and youth. We have a tremendous coalition of helpers in this town that really want to see this issue addressed in a much more effective way. We know we can get beyond it. We've said that for a long time. Homelessness is not one of these things that can't be solved, because it can be solved, and it's actually not nearly as complicated as people think. It requires some investment, not just with dollars, but with will and community effort. And I think that we're in a better place now than we've ever been. I think that was demonstrated during the events that we had in February. It was an amazing response. People want to see something different, and they believe that everybody deserves something different. The people who have lived in crisis and lived without a home, but also community members, everybody deserves something different.
Absolutely. We all do better when we all do better.
Exactly.
I really appreciate you bringing up our partners too. We may be kind of stepping up in this specific outreach arena, but a lot of times we're just an entry point into services, and it really is those meaningful connections with other agencies that can really transform somebody's situation.
Oh, for sure. So, I think our number one goal, when we say that we're committed to building that relationship, relationships are the key, right? Relationships are what allow us to have the conversations about what somebody wants for themselves and what they think next steps need to look like. The people we serve are partners in this whole thing. So, and they can identify what it is that they feel they need. So we're really about engagement. What does it take to engage with people in a meaningful way that can result in the conversations that we need to move forward, that they need to move forward? If somebody's not ready to pursue housing right now for whatever reason, we believe they can get there once we as a system start to demonstrate that we are here for you. We believe in your autonomy and your independence and all of those pieces, and we just want to be the catalyst to help you move toward your goals.
So when we meet people where they're at with a person-centered, trauma-informed approach, kind of put them back in the driver's seat, it can actually increase the likelihood that somebody is going to be able to change their situation.
Oh, definitely. Everybody wants to have choices, right? No matter what your circumstances are in life, people want to feel like they have choices and that they're not backed into a corner with just this one thing that doesn't feel right. So meeting people where they're at, having conversations about what they want and what they're ready for really does put people in the driver's seat in their own lives. I believe it empowers people, and I believe that sometimes it takes a while to get there because, again, people have a million reasons not to believe what we're saying. So it's our job to show up and demonstrate or prove that this is truly not only what we do, but it's what you deserve.
When that trusting relationship has been built with someone, have you ever seen anybody turn down an opportunity for housing?
I have not. And it's interesting you bring that up because I do have conversations all the time with people about, well, that guy or whoever, they want to be homeless, they're perfectly fine. Humans are super adaptable. And when you don't believe you have choices and you don't believe you have a way out, of course you're going to adapt and you're going to make the best of the situations because it's what we do. We're
survival.
Amazing, right? It is survival. I have yet to meet somebody that once you really get into it and you really get to a place where you can have conversations that truly just wants to be homeless. They just don't want what they've experienced in the past in order to try to get housing.
It also sounds like this neighborhood response team is really about building relationships with our community members. And hopefully by having that relationship in the first place, it can actually prevent a crisis altogether.
Definitely, it can prevent a crisis altogether. We've actually seen situations where some of the folks that work downtown or own businesses have really tried to reach out to some of the individuals that they see over and over, and they can see are in crisis. I'm always impressed, I think, by the efforts that people make to connect with folks and to make sure they're okay, even though I know that some folks are really frustrated with some of the things that happen. So by building that relationship and just being more predictable and, just really a no frills, no surprises type of response, I think that everybody wins with that because it does become less about crisis and more about connecting and building relationships.
I feel like this team is really building off of a value of the downtown community based in community care. It's clear that our community really cares about one another, and they also maybe don't always know what to do when they're in a situation that's unfamiliar to them with someone who's unfamiliar to them. And so this team is really that dedicated response team with the skills and the know-how to approach really any kind of situation with the proper tools.
Right. So I think that, it takes all of us, right, to get through any day and make things operate, make things go forward. We're asking people to give us the opportunity to engage with folks that maybe they don't know what's going on, or maybe they don't know what to do next, or they have concerns about somebody who seems particularly vulnerable. Give us a chance to engage with them, do some outreach, and see if we can get to a place where that doesn't feel like that and doesn't feel so so murky, I guess, you know?
Yeah, it may not be everybody who comes downtown's responsibility to
Right.
know what to do in that situation, but we do all care about that downtown
bet.
community, and this way we have an appropriate response, right response at the right time.
And I think that sometimes I think the frustration or whatever it is, I think that sometimes just not knowing what to do next and wanting to do something, seeing that there's a situation that they want a remedy for or a response for, I think that frustration of not knowing what to do next sometimes adds to all of these other things that surround downtown. So this way, we have opportunities, we have resources, we have a response, and we know how to approach people, we know how to do outreach, and we know how to help people get out of situations. So just let us take care of what we take care of. Everybody else can take care of what they take care of, and I think it's going to be a good thing.
So it sounds to me like this neighborhood response team is really the first step in a series of steps that is going to help our community address our homelessness issue that has been increasing across the nation. And it sounds like we also have plans to identify how we can better move people into housing. But this is where you start in order to make that become a reality.
Yeah, I think some of our efforts are going to take a while. I mean, it's hard to make things move fast when it involves decision making and dollars and all of the things that are going to be required, and investment from the community, from our neighboring communities, everybody, to really get beyond this situation. Until then, though, engaging with people and preparing for that day when we have the resources we need to get out of this situation altogether. It's the neighborhood response team operates right now from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. We know that during the daytime, when people are downtown shopping and walking and participating in all the amazing things that happen, that sometimes that's when people have concerns or something pops up that they want us to be able to address. So that's why we're choosing those hours. However, we'll adjust those hours based on what we learn from people who work downtown, based on what we learn from the people we're serving. And I think that we can adjust them depending on events. We're flexible, and I think that's one of our greatest strengths as the Harm Reduction Division, is that we are just so flexible. We move in order to meet the needs of the people we're trying to serve, instead of expecting them to move based on our schedule.
I really hope that this opportunity will help demonstrate to the community that we're committed to change. We're committed to helping our downtown community be a place where everybody feels like they belong and has a place to be. And that future end goal of ending homelessness altogether is achievable as long as we keep chipping away at it.